All right, number 8. At a parking garage in the city, the charge for parking consists of a flat fee of $2 plus $1.50 per hour. Write a linear function to model the cost for parking PT for T hours. Most of the time we would do y equals, 2 plus $1.50x, but they tell us to use P of t because it's a function. The other way is just writing the equation of a line, but it's the same thing because this is linear. Okay, I don't care if you have it this way. A flat fee of $2 plus $1.50, and if we're going to call this P of t, this has to be t. Okay. They're not going to mess you up and try to put t and x together. It's not going to be like that. It's multiple choice. Okay. But if you were going to put it in slope-intercept form, this would be the same thing. Or P of t equals $1.50 per hour plus a flat fee of $2. Either is fine. Okay. All right. Just make sure the t goes with the $1.50, not the 2. Number 9. A baseball is hit so that its height in feet after t seconds is this. Okay. Round any decimals to the nearest hundredth. Here's the thing. We're going to read this so that we know it's the same thing. I've preached this all semester long. What does that stand for and what does the t stand for? Because then we can go to the questions and you're rather going to replace this with whatever they give you, or you're going to replace the t's. All right, so a baseball is hit so that its height in feet, this is the height, and it's measured in feet, and this is the time, it's measured in seconds. So if they give you feet, you put it here. If they give you seconds, you plug it in both there and let your calculator do the work. How high is a baseball after 1 second? Plug it in for both of these and let your calculator do the work. Negative 16 times 1 squared plus 44 times 1 plus 4. Okay, so I don't care how you do it. If you want to use your store button, it's fine. You can type it in like this if you want. 1 squared. You don't have to worry too much because our time is positive. Plus 44 times 1. You don't even need to do that. Plus 4. And we're going to get 32 feet. Find the maximum height of the baseball. That baseball has a shape like this. Okay? So, we're trying to find the y value right here, because remember, it's time and then your height, which is s of t. Okay? So we want to find the vertex, and of the vertex, it's going to be our y. So how do we find that? Well, we find the x by doing negative b over 2a, negative, where's our formula? Here it is, 44 over 2 times negative 16, because a is negative 16. Okay, so I was seeing these dots on my screen and it was bugging me. Don't use your calculator until you have to. Negative 44 over negative 32. Now you can use your calculator, okay? It's not that you couldn't say 2 times negative 16. You could. I just don't want you to go negative 44 divided by 2 times negative 16. It's going to give you the wrong answer. So divided by negative 32, and you get 1.375. Okay. That is our first value. That is our seconds. But it says height. So what we have to do is take this and plug it into our equation. So you're going to say your s of t, or your y, I don't care, that's fine, negative 16 times 1.375 squared plus 44t, whoops, we're replacing our t with 1.375 plus 4. Now I'm going to use my store button here just because, and I should have up here. I could just do this actually. Just change that to an x. Change this to an x, and it'll give me the same thing. Okay, but I'm going to store 1.375, store x, then I'm going to bring that back up, and I get 34.25 feet. Now be careful. On your multiple choice questions or answers, you're going to see that number and you're going to see this number. And they're going to say 1.375 feet, 34.25 feet, because they want to know, do you know what T stands for, and do you know what the S of T, which is your Y. Okay, again, you can replace this with your Y. Your X stood for your time, your Y stood for the height. So that's why you have to know what these actually mean. All right, when does a baseball hit the ground? When it hits the ground right here, it's at the height of 0. So what you do, you plug that right here. So you're going to say 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 44 times t plus 4. Okay, on my answers, I just went ahead and used the quadratic formula. I'm looking at this now, and even though I'm still going to have to use the quadratic formula, but if I had to do it over again, I would factor out a negative 4, because then it makes my numbers smaller. I get 4t squared plus 11t plus, oops, let's try minus 11t, because I'm factoring a negative, and I'm factoring a negative, so it's going to be minus 1. This just means when I use my quadratic formula, it's usually x, but in this particular case, it's going to be t equals, now my numbers aren't as big. So I get 11 plus or minus 11, negative 11 squared, my b squared, minus 4 times my a, which is 4, times my c, which is negative 1. All over 2 times my a, which is 4. I'm only using this part of it. Now, I don't really have to use my calculator as much. It's fine. I could have done it with the other numbers with 16, 44, and 4. It would have still worked out. In fact, if you probably will, because you can use your calculator anyway. So in here, that gives me 121 plus 16. I think it's 137 all over 8. I'm just double checking that. 121 plus 16, 137. Okay, so now if you're going to do all of this at once, you need to put this in parentheses. Anytime there's more than one thing in the top or bottom, you have to put it in parentheses. Now me, I'm just going to do 11 plus square root of 137. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to divide it by 8. And so I get 2.8 seconds. And I'm looking at my answers. It has 2.7. I'm checking something. Okay, I'll have to check my answer sheet because it may be wrong. All right, so when I did the plus, I got 2.83 seconds. No, 84. And then when I do the minus of this, hit enter and then divide by 8, I'm going to get a negative 0.09, but can that happen? Okay, I think I've done something wrong. Hold on just a second. 11, that's 121, minus 4 times negative 1. I don't know where I went wrong. I'm going to check using the quadratic. Probably should have just left this alone. And I get negative 44 plus or minus the square root of 44 squared minus 4 times my a, which is negative 16, times my c, which is 4, all over 2 times my a, which is negative 16. So I get negative 32 on the bottom. On the top, let's see. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me figure out what's inside there just to make sure my answer sheet's right, because if it's wrong, I need to send you guys a text letting you know. 44 squared minus 4 times negative 16. Okay, so I get 2192. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to do the whole thing at once. Negative 44 plus second square root of 2192. Oops. Divided by negative 32. I got that. Okay, my answer sheet is wrong. And it can't, time can't be negative. Okay, time can't be negative. Oops. Let's try this again. Hold on. Now I got to change this to a minus sign here. And I get 2.84. Okay, so yeah, my answer sheet was wrong. Sorry about that. Sorry to make you go through that. Hopefully you just sped through it, moved it along. Okay, now at what time is the height of the ball 6 feet? Just like this one here, except for 0 is going to be 6. Now, I'm going to subtract 6, so I have to get it set equal to 0 to use the quadratic formula. Plus 44t minus 2. Now again, if we're going to use our calculator, I'm not going to bother factoring anything out. So t is equal to negative 44 plus or minus the square root of my b squared, which is 44 squared, minus 4 times our a, which is negative 16, times our c, which is negative 2, all over 2 times my a, which is negative 16. So on the bottom, I have negative 32. On the top, I have negative 44 plus or minus the square root . Okay, 44 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 2. And I get 1808. Okay, so negative 44 plus, and I'm going to have to do this in 2 steps. Okay, that's a plus. I'm going to have to hit enter because I didn't use parentheses. I'm going to divide it by negative 32. And I get 0.04. Let's try 5 because it says round to the nearest hundredth, so it's 0.05. Okay. Now I'm going to do the other one. Minus, and divide that by negative 32. And I get 2.70. And these were seconds. Now, it is okay to have 2 answers. Right here it was different. A baseball was hit. So a baseball, like here's the person batting, okay? When he swings the bat, it is hit. It's not on the ground, okay? So it's going to go lower than where it was hit. But here, it wanted to know when it was 6 feet high. Well, that could be here, and then on the way down it could be here. So that's why you'll have two answers right there. Okay, find each of the following for each function. Does a parabola go up or down? This tells you that it goes up. The vertex, you can do negative b over 2a and then plug it in. Okay. So in this particular case, oops, it's going to be positive 4 over 2 times 2, which is 4. Don't use your calculator until you need to. So that gives us 1. To find the y value, you plug it in. You say 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 1. This gives us 1 times 2 is 2. Minus 4 gives us a negative 2, plus 1 is a negative 1. Our vertex is 1, negative 1. Axis of symmetry, it always matches this here. Okay, so this is my 1, not my I. Roman numeral 1, I guess. Then here, I don't like the way they did this, but Roman numeral 2. Roman numeral 3, the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Okay? Not y, x. Be careful there. Intervals where it's increasing and where it's decreasing. Okay, this is a parabola. You just told me, or I just told you, I guess, because you weren't here, but you would have if you'd have been in class. 1, negative 1, so it's right here. And you said that it went up. All right. So when we find intervals where it is increasing, remember, it's our x values. It's increasing from there to there. Well, my x value, it's going to be an open circle because that is where it changes directions. So from there up, sorry, you're hearing my timer go off. So that is at a positive 1, because it's x values only, 1 to infinity, where it's increasing. Decreasing is the other direction, okay, because you're reading this left to right. So it's decreasing from the left to the right going that way. Down here is negative infinity, so it's decreasing from negative infinity to 1. And that is not Roman numeral 5. Okay. Now, the domain and range. This is 5. I think the domain and range. The domain, we're using all numbers, even this one. So, and it's a quadratic. All quadratics, their domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. Now the range is the smallest y. You read it from the bottom to the top. Well, that's down here at negative 1, and it goes to infinity. And that's the range.